This found you for a reason. You didn't find this video. It found you. Because sometimes, when your heart is too tired to search, Allah sends the message instead. So stop, listen, don't scroll away too fast. Because maybe this is the sign you whispered for, when no one else was listening. 1. If you're restless for no reason, that's not just stress. You feel uneasy, you wake up tired, even when your life looks fine, your soul feels off. That's not just burnout. That's your heart needing its creator. You've fed your body, you've kept your phone charged, but your soul, it's starving. And Allah is whispering through that emptiness. Come back to me, I will give you peace no one else can. 2. If you keep losing things you loved, that's protection, not punishment. Maybe a relationship ended, maybe a job slipped away, maybe the future you planned just disappeared. You think it's bad luck, but what if it's divine mercy? Allah removes what will break you before you even see the cracks. He's not trying to hurt you, He's trying to save you. I took it so I could give you better. 3. If you feel like you're falling behind, you're not late, you're being prepared. It feels like the world is speeding ahead without you. Every time you open your phone, someone's celebrating something. A friend got married. Another one just moved abroad. Someone else got their dream job. And there you are, watching, clapping, smiling, but quietly breaking. You're genuinely happy for them. You say, "Mashallah," and mean it. But later, when the room is quiet and your phone is off, you feel it. That heavy silence in your heart. That whisper that says, "When will it be my turn?" And it's not because you're jealous. It's because you're exhausted. Exhausted from waiting. Exhausted from praying. Exhausted from trying to stay hopeful while nothing seems to change. You've made dua with tears. You've done your part. You've tried to trust. And yet, every day feels the same. You wake up with hope and go to sleep with questions. Am I doing something wrong? Is Allah upset with me? Why does it feel like I'm stuck in place while everyone else is moving forward? But what if you're not stuck at all? What if the delay isn't denial? What if it's a sign of love? Because Allah doesn't just hand out blessings randomly. He gives with wisdom. He gives when the timing is perfect, not for the world, but for you. Sometimes what looks like a pause is really a process, just like a seed buried in the dark. At first, it seems like nothing is happening. The soil is quiet, the surface is undisturbed, but underneath, that seed is splitting, breaking, forming roots, reaching deep before it ever grows high. And you are that seed. Right now, Allah is forming the unseen parts of you. Your patience, your faith, your humility, your resilience. These are not small things. These are the foundations that will carry the blessing you asked for. Because blessings are not just given, they are carried, and anything heavy must be held by something strong. You think you're waiting for the blessing, but really, Allah is waiting for your heart to be ready to receive it without it replacing Him. He's protecting you from success that could make you arrogant, from relationships that could pull you away, from a life that looks good on the outside but destroys your peace on the inside. He knows what you don't, He sees what you can't. So He's not just preparing the thing, He's preparing you. So when He gives it, you won't need it to feel worthy. You won't cling to it in fear. You'll take it with open hands and a steady heart, because your identity will be rooted in something stronger than outcomes. Tawakkul. Trust Him. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to wait. It hurts to smile when your heart is aching. It hurts to celebrate others while secretly wiping your own tears. But this pain isn't pointless. It's purifying you. It's polishing you. It's breaking everything in you that would break the blessing once it arrives. This isn't punishment. This is sacred preparation, a space where your soul is rewired to depend less on timing and more on Allah. A space where your ego slowly dissolves and your heart learns to whisper, "Even now I still trust you." You are not forgotten, you are not invisible, you are not behind, you are being shaped by the one who writes every story with purpose. So don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Your journey was never meant to match theirs. It was always meant to be yours, custom written by the one who knows you better than you know yourself. And when the wait ends, because it will, when the doors open in a way you didn't expect, at a time you stopped watching the clock, you'll look back and smile. You'll say, "Now I understand why it took so long." Every delay was protection, every quiet season was construction, and every unanswered prayer was a placeholder for something so much better. You are not falling behind. You are being built slowly, intentionally, beautifully, by a Lord who never rushes greatness. So breathe. You are right where you're meant to be. And what's coming, it's not just good, it's worth every second of the wait. 4. If you randomly cried in Salah or Sujud, that wasn't random. You didn't step onto the prayer mat expecting anything life-changing. You weren't in a spiritual high. You weren't full of energy or clarity. In fact, maybe your mind was scattered. Maybe your heart was heavy, but too tired to even feel it. You stood to pray because you knew you should, not because you felt strong. You recited the words, you moved through the motions. It was supposed to be just another salah. But then something subtle shifted. Maybe you slowed down without realizing it. Maybe one verse suddenly sounded personal, like it was speaking directly to you. Maybe when you went into sujud, your body dropped. But this time your heart did too. And in that moment, that quiet, unplanned moment, the ache you had been pushing down for days, weeks, or even years began to rise. You didn't cry because of one thing. It wasn't about a single event. It was everything. All the disappointment you never processed, all the pain you pretended wasn't real, all the confusion you smiled through, all the heartbreaks, the unanswered prayers, the things you never said out loud. They found their way to the surface through a tear you didn't even see coming. That tear wasn't weak. It was honest. It was your soul, finally safe enough to speak in the only place it truly feels heard, in sujud. Because sujud isn't just a physical act. It's surrender. It's the moment your forehead touches the earth and your heart touches the sky. It's where the soul says what the lips can't, where silence becomes its own kind of dua. You didn't need eloquent words. You didn't need a well-crafted prayer. You didn't even need strength. All you needed was truth. And in that moment, that's exactly what Allah received from you. People often think that strong worship means standing tall with perfect focus. But some of the most powerful worship happens when you collapse in His presence. When your body is still, but your heart is screaming, and Allah, in His mercy, hears it all. That's why sujud is the closest we can be to our Creator. Not because we're perfect in that position, but because we're the most honest there. It's where all masks fall off, where all pretenses fade, where we're not the version of ourselves we show the world. We're just real, wounded, raw, and completely known by the one who never needed us to pretend in the first place. And the most beautiful part? Allah doesn't just see those tears, He treasures them. The Prophet said that a person who weeps in the remembrance of Allah will be shaded by His throne on the day of judgment. That's how sacred your moment was. That cry in sujud, it became a moment recorded in the heavens, not as a breakdown, not as shame, but as a turning point. Because sometimes we don't cry when we're at our weakest. We cry when we're finally strong enough to stop hiding. When the walls come down and the soul says, "Here I am, Ya Allah, broken, but still yours." And Allah, He doesn't run from brokenness, He runs to it. He comes closer to the heart that humbles itself. He rebuilds what the world has worn down. He doesn't ask why you waited so long. He simply opens the door and whispers, "Welcome back. I've been waiting for you." So the next time your heart swells and tears fall during salah or sujood, don't wipe them away too fast. Let them fall. Let them cleanse. Let them speak. Because in that moment, you are not lost. You are not weak. You are exactly where you need to be, held by the one who understands you better than you'll ever understand yourself. 5. If the same tests keep showing up, you're not failing, you're leveling up. It keeps happening. You meet someone new, and for a moment, it feels different. They seem kind. They seem respectful. You let your guard down. You open your heart just a little. You believe, maybe this time it's safe. But then it shifts, subtly, slowly. And suddenly, you're back in that same place again, drained, unseen, questioning yourself, wondering how you ended up here again. You sit in silence and ask, why does this keep happening to me? Haven't I already learned this lesson? Why do I keep attracting the same kind of people, the same kind of pain, the same emotional pattern? It's not just exhausting, it's spiritually exhausting, because you've grown, you've changed, you've prayed, you've walked away from what hurt you. You've done the work, or at least tried to. But here's what most people never say out loud. Healing isn't always one big moment. Sometimes it's a long series of choices, and sometimes it takes a few cycles before you realize you're in one. You left the situation, but the lesson, it's still unfolding, because you can walk away from a person and still carry the wound they left behind. And because Allah loves you, He brings the test back. Not to humiliate you, not to punish you, but to show you what still needs healing. He shows you the pattern, so this time you can choose differently, so you can finally say, I deserve peace more than I fear being alone. So you can stop shrinking to be accepted. So you can stop offering your soul to people who never had the capacity to hold it. It's not failure that brought the test back. It's readiness. It's Allah saying, you've healed enough to face this again, not to suffer, but to overcome. Maybe last time you were silent when you should have spoken. Maybe last time you stayed when your soul was screaming to leave. Maybe last time you confused attention with love, control with care, guilt with loyalty. But this time you noticed the red flags early. You trusted your gut. You valued your boundaries. You walked away not because it didn't hurt, but because it wasn't right. And that's growth. That's strength. That's spiritual evolution. Tests repeat not because you're weak, but because Allah wants to give you a chance to walk a higher path. To respond with wisdom, not wounds. To stop living in emotional survival mode and start living with clarity and purpose. And the beautiful thing, every time you respond differently, every time you protect your peace instead of chasing chaos, you are rewriting your story. You are unlearning what the world taught you and remembering what Allah already placed inside you, that you were never meant to settle for emotional crumbs. You were made for love that uplifts, for friendships that honor your spirit, for peace that doesn't come with conditions, and for strength that isn't loud, but stable, calm, rooted in faith. So don't be ashamed when the test comes back. Be aware. Look at it with honest eyes. Ask, what part of me still needs healing? Where did I abandon myself to feel accepted? What pattern am I being invited to break, not just for me, but for the future I want to build? Because when you outgrow a test, it no longer has power over you. You stop repeating it. You stop attracting it. You stop entertaining it. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. Because you finally believed in your worth enough to walk away without guilt. Because you realize that Allah never sends the same pain without offering a higher version of you on the other side of it. So no, you're not stuck. You're not being punished. You're not going in circles. You are in spiritual training. You're being refined, prepared, sharpened, because what Allah has planned for you next requires the version of you that no longer fears walking alone, that no longer begs to be chosen, that no longer tolerates cycles disguised as comfort. So when it comes again, that familiar face, that familiar struggle, that familiar temptation to fall back into old ways, remember who you are now and let your response reflect your growth. Because once you respond from strength instead of fear, from self-worth instead of desperation, from faith instead of familiarity, that test will have served its purpose. And you'll rise higher than before, freer than before, closer to Allah than ever before. 6. If you suddenly feel guilt for old sins, that's a gift, not shame. There was a time in your life when you did things without thinking twice. You didn't flinch. You didn't feel a tug in your heart. You convinced yourself it was normal, something small, something harmless, something everyone does. And even if you knew deep down that it wasn't right, you silenced that voice. You drowned it out with distractions, with excuses, with busyness, and life went on. But now something is different. Now, you can't think about that sin without your chest tightening. Now, your stomach drops when you remember what you said, what you did, what you used to be okay with. Even the things you brushed off before, the music, the messages, the moments you laughed about, they don't sit the same anymore. They make your soul ache in a quiet, unexplainable way. And you wonder, why now? Why is this hurting me now when it didn't before? Why does it feel so heavy even though it's in the past? That's not weakness. That's not guilt trying to drown you. That is mercy. That is awakening. That is Allah softening your heart. Because when Allah loves a soul, He doesn't let it stay numb. He doesn't let it drift too far for too long. He doesn't let it sit in darkness without sending light. And sometimes that light shows up as guilt. Not to shame you, but to wake you, that feeling you're carrying, the one that makes you look away from old memories, the one that makes you pause when you open that app, or makes you feel sick when you hear that song. That's not your enemy. That's your fitra, your God-given nature, whispering, "We were made for more than this." It's the sign that your soul is still alive. It's the proof that Allah has not turned away from you. In fact, He's closer than ever. He's nudging your heart. He's pulling you gently. He's letting you feel this not to crush you, but so you can finally be free. Because you can't heal what you don't feel, and you can't return if you don't first realize that you've strayed. So this guilt, this discomfort, this invisible weight on your chest, it's not punishment. It's the door back to Him. And no, you are not a hypocrite just because your past makes you uncomfortable now. You're not fake for changing your mind. You're not broken for regretting what once didn't bother you. In fact, that's one of the greatest signs of spiritual maturity, when what once felt normal now feels wrong, when the sin hasn't changed, but you have. Allah is not sitting above you waiting to throw blame. He is waiting to show you mercy. And every time you say astaghfirullah from your heart, every time you cry and whisper, Ya Allah, forgive me, every time you choose not to go back to that old habit, even if you slip again later, that is counted. That is witnessed. That is recorded by angels and honored by the one who sees effort, not perfection. So don't run from your guilt. Don't hide from it. Don't numb it with distractions. Let it guide you. Let it push you toward forgiveness. Let it remind you that if Allah is letting you feel it, then He's also ready to forgive it. Even the darkest chapter in your past can become the start of your brightest transformation. Even the sins you thought disqualified you can become the very reason you draw closer to Him than ever before. So when the shame rises again, when you remember the version of yourself that once made you proud, but now makes you shiver. Say it quietly, say it sincerely. Ya Allah, I feel it now, and I want you more than anything. Because guilt that leads to Allah is a gift disguised as pain. And when you respond to it, when you walk through that door with a trembling heart but an open soul, you'll find Him waiting on the other side, not with punishment, but with forgiveness so wide that your worst moment could never outweigh His mercy. 7. If you still feel empty after getting what you prayed for, that's a call to go deeper. You waited so long, you cried in secret, you raised your hands night after night asking for one thing: a job, a spouse, a child, a door to open, a dream to come true. You believed, you trusted, and finally it came. You got exactly what you asked for. And for a moment it felt beautiful. You were excited, hopeful, maybe even proud. But then something strange happened. The joy faded, the peace never stayed. And in the quiet moments, when no one was around, you felt it. An emptiness. A silence inside your heart that the blessing didn't fill. You tried to ignore it. You told yourself, maybe I'm just tired, or maybe I need time. But deep down, the question kept returning. Why do I feel like this? I should be happy. And here's the truth most people don't talk about. Getting what you prayed for doesn't always bring the peace you expected. Because sometimes, in chasing the blessing, you lose sight of the one who gave it. You hold the gift tightly, but forget the giver. And Allah, in His mercy, lets you feel that hollowness, not to make you ungrateful, not to confuse you, but to bring you back, to show you gently, quietly, it's me your soul truly needs. Because blessings alone can't satisfy a heart that was created to know its Lord. Money without barakah feels empty. Marriage without spiritual depth feels lonely. Success without connection to Allah feels meaningless. Barakah isn't in what you hold, it's in who you hold on to. And when Allah is at the center, even small things feel full. Even hard things feel peaceful. Even silence feels comforting. So if you feel empty after getting what you begged for, it doesn't mean you were wrong to want it. It doesn't mean the gift was bad. It just means Allah is calling you to go deeper, to not stop at the surface, to not worship the blessing, but to return to the blesser. Because the job isn't your provider, the relationship isn't your source of love, the success isn't your identity. Allah is. And sometimes He gives you exactly what you wanted, so He can gently show you what you actually needed all along. A heart that is full of Him. A life that revolves around Him, a peace that doesn't depend on anything or anyone else. So don't be ashamed of the emptiness. Don't let it confuse you. Let it guide you. Because that hollow feeling is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of invitation. An invitation back to the one who never stops calling your soul. And when you answer, when you say, Ya Allah, you gave me this gift, but now give me what truly satisfies you. That's when the real peace comes. That's when your blessing becomes light instead of weight. That's when everything in your life starts to make sense again. Because this was never just about getting the thing. It was about becoming the person, the one who carries the gift without forgetting the giver. And when you finally realize that, you won't need the world to tell you you're blessed. Because your heart will already be full of the only one who can never be taken away. Don't just feel this, respond to it. Don't just scroll past this. Don't treat it like just another post, just another video, just another few minutes of content. Because if you're still here, still reading, still feeling, then that alone means something. You didn't land here by accident. You didn't stay here by coincidence. There's something deeper happening right now, something your eyes can't see, but your soul can feel. That ache in your chest, that quiet pull in your heart. That wasn't just emotion, that was a conversation between you and your Creator. Because when Allah wants to reach you, He doesn't always send a thunderstorm. Sometimes He sends a whisper, Sometimes he sends words that feel like they were written just for you. Sometimes he lets your heart pause at the right sentence, the right moment, the right sign, so you can finally hear what he's been saying all along. I'm still here, and I still want you to come back. These moments, the stillness, the sudden tears, the lump in your throat, they aren't small. They're sacred. They're signs that your soul is still alive, that it hasn't given up even if your mind feels tired, that Allah hasn't turned away from you even if you've been distant. So don't just feel this, respond to it. Don't silence the voice that just woke up inside you. Don't ignore the softness that just returned to your chest, even if you don't have the perfect words, even if you feel unworthy, even if you're scared. All you have to say is, Ya Allah, I hear you, I'm ready. Say it with your heart, say it with your tears, say it with your silence. Type it in the comments if you need to make it real, because sometimes that small action is the start of something massive, a turning point, a return, a revival. And if this message touched you, if even one sentence felt like it was meant for you, share it. Because maybe you are someone else's sign. Maybe your repost, your message, your reminder becomes the light that finds another lost soul. And on the day of judgment, you'll find that a simple share was recorded as a lifeline. So don't walk away unchanged. Don't let this moment pass like it didn't mean something. Let it be the moment your soul finally said, I'm coming back. May Allah continue to guide your heart in silence, pull you closer with love, and write you among those who don't just see the signs, but answer them.